Now, Mr. President, a quick update on voting rights. Last week, several of my colleagues introduced the Freedom to Vote Act, a powerful new bill that would tackle head-on voter suppression, partisan gerrymandering, the scourge of dark money. The legislation also responds to recommendations from election officials and includes new provisions to boost confidence in our elections, including critical anti-election subversion reforms, a flexible voter ID standard, and common-sense voter list maintenance requirements. This legislation will promote greater confidence in our elections, and I believe all senators, Democrat, Republican, and Independent alike, should support the package. At the end of last week, I moved to place the Freedom to Vote Act on the legislative calendar, enabling me to schedule a vote on this bill in the immediate future. This week, my colleague, Senator Manchin, who helped craft this legislation and relied on many of the good practices in West Virginia to do so, Senator Manchin this week is making an effort, a good faith effort, to reach colleagues on the other side of the aisle to win support of the Freedom to Vote Act. And in fact, he's been meeting with a number of Republican colleagues. We are committed to finding common ground, and if there is common ground to be found, we look forward to hearing what changes Republicans might want to make. And if Republicans engage earnestly and honestly, we will work with them. The Voting Rights Working Group I convened earlier this year is prepared to help in that effort. But we need to move quickly. Time is of the essence. As Senator Manchin said earlier this year regarding congressional action on voting rights, inaction is not an option. I agree with Senator Manchin in that regard. To that end, it is my intention to hold a vote for the Freedom to Vote Act here on the Senate floor. If Republicans are unwilling to move forward, Democrats will have to move on our own. Voting inaction from Republicans on voting rights is not an excuse to do nothing. We're going to take action to make sure we protect our democracy and fight back against the disease of voter suppression, partisan gerrymandering, and election subversion that is metastasizing at the state level. And finally, on Haiti, Mr. President, we've all seen these horrible images coming from our southern border. As Haitian asylum seekers simply looking to escape tyranny and the problems that they have sought, have been met at our doorstep with unimaginable dignity. Images of Haitian migrants being hit with whips and other forms of physical violence is completely unacceptable. This behavior must be addressed, and we must provide accountability. The images turn your stomach. It must be stopped, this kind of violence. Right now, I'm told there are 4 flights scheduled to deport these asylum seekers back to a country that cannot receive them. Such a decision defies common sense. It also defies common decency and what America is all about. Remember that harbor, that lady in the harbor in the city in which I live. So I urge President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas to immediately put a stop to these expulsions and to end this Title 42 policy at our southern border. That we cannot continue these hateful and xenophobic Trump policies that disregard our refugee laws. We must allow asylum seekers to present their claims at our ports of entry and be afforded due process. I commit to work with this administration to provide resources so that we can establish safe, orderly, humane processes for those seeking protections. Again, the policies that are being enacted now and the horrible treatment of these innocent people who have come to the border must stop immediately. I yield the floor. I don't yield the floor. I have one more bit.